Hey everyone, it's the Koopa Man. So I came across a video, well, more accurately KMDP sent it to me. Every Fixing Pokemon video by Soda Crab, a tongue-in-cheek takedown of various PokeTuber videos trying to fix Pokemon games. The link will be here and in the description. And it got me thinking. In a previous video, I mentioned that sweaty tryhards had entitlement issues in Pokemon as a whole. Well, this time we're gonna get into that, because the issue of Enthusiast entitlement extends over many media franchises and beyond, not just Pokemon. To start with, we should go over the various tiers of fans. First is Tier 1, where you have the non-fans, the uninitiated, people who don't engage with a series or franchise. Tier 2, you have the casual fans, people who dip their toes into a work from time to time but aren't all that in-depth. They might have seen one or two of the movies, but that's about it. Tier 3, you got casual fans, sort of like medium rare. Casuals who are a little more in-depth but aren't really all that hardcore. Take for example someone who's seen all 6 of the Star Wars movies but hasn't read the books, comics, or watched any of the TV series. Tier 4 are the dyed-in-the-wool fans, the middle point. Fans who will engage with deeper works into a series like the comic books, novels, and video games, and who will engage in fandom discussions in servers and forums. Ideally, these are the audience that every series should aim for. Tier 5 are the hardcore fans. Most would say these are the enthusiasts, but in order to keep from using derogatory terms for these tiers, we'll just say hardcore. These are groups who will not only purchase and engage in the fandom, but they may even engage in some creation of things like fan fictions, fan games, fan comics, fan art, forums, communities, Discord servers, and the like. It's Tier 5 where you start to see some of the problem, but not that much of it. Finally is Tier 6, the enthusiasts, the uber dedicated, the tryhards, people who give their lives to a specific fandom. Basically all the worst elements of Tier 5 without any of the upsides. It's Tier 6 where the bulk of the issue comes from, but it can trickle down to the other tiers as well. With their dedication, Tier 6 fans do feel this entitlement. To sum it up, it's people like Comic Book Guy in the Simpsons clip.
Last night's Itsy and Scratchy was, without a doubt, the worst episode ever. Rest assured that I was on the internet within minutes, registering my disgust throughout the world.
Hey, I know it wasn't great, but what right do you have to complain?
As a loyal viewer, I feel they owe me.
What? They've given you thousands of hours of entertainment for free. What could they possibly owe you? I mean, if anything, you owe them.
Worst episode ever.
Granted, Bart's defense does come off as do not attack the multi-billion-dollar company, but there is a tiny bit of a point, otherwise I wouldn't be making this video. Just because you dedicate your life to a fandom doesn't mean that you're entitled to anything. In fact, it's the act of dedicating your life to something like entertainment that makes it all the more concerning. Take for example, well, Pokemon. I touched on the issues that there are with both the series and the fandom before, but some things do bear repeating. Within the Pokemon competitive community, there's a sub-community of competitive tryhards who I discussed before in my Stop Having Fun Guys video. They mainly exist on the Smogon forums and use the metagame guidelines as gospel. The thing is though, this ignores the fact that at the end of the day, Pokemon is a JRPG. One made primarily for children at that. Tryhards within the Smogon and competitive community see no value in Pokemon like Beedrill, Butterfree, or Luvdisc. But that's because they have tunnel vision and only view it from their niche of the game. Of course, Beedrill and Butterfree aren't that good competitively. Their purpose is to be an early game Pokemon that evolves fast and is strong in the early game, but tapers off in usefulness later on. It's as simple as that. Pokemon are in essence like equipment in Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy. The sword you get earlier in the game is strong for that part of the game, but it won't stay as strong later on. To say these Pokemon are bad and should never be used ignores their purpose from a game design perspective, which is why it shouldn't be surprising that Smogon competitive-based ROM hacks and fan games tend to have issues in their game design and balancing. It's arrogant to think that you, the fan, know better than the professionals. And even if a Pokemon isn't good stat-wise like Luvdisc, it could have other game design reasons for existing, i.e. the heart scales, which are used to relearn old moves. Or Pokemon like Bidoof and Bibarel being able to learn multiple HM moves, making them good for infield utility. And none of it even matters, as regardless of the reason, every Pokemon is someone's favorite. Hell, that was my entire thesis in my anti-Dexit video. Furthermore, the games are designed to be easy enough to be an entryway into JRPGs. In addition to things like EVs and IVs, the games are also easy enough that you could take a Beedrill all the way to the Elite Four if that was your prerogative. Plus, Pokemon is a multimedia franchise. If a Pokemon is bad in the games, it might be good in other contexts, like the trading card game. Wigglytuff may be a rather mediocre Pokemon in the games, but in the earliest iterations of the TCG, it can do the wave and devastate you if you're not careful. But speaking of the TCG, that brings up another group of enthusiasts, though not Pokemon enthusiasts. Speculators are also Tier 6 fans of the thing that they're into, collecting. The problem is, though, there are also parasites that deprive things from the real fans of stuff like the Pokemon TCG, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, video games, amiibos, and the like. In fact, speculators and collection enthusiasts are so bad they sort of help contribute to inflation. What do I mean by this? Well, the US Treasury puts out special collector's coins that enthusiasts eat up, but the problem is those coins have actual monetary value tied to them, thus making their printing a contributing factor to the growing inflation crisis. But if you ever call these people out on this, all they'll do is laugh at you and call you poor, as if their ill-gotten monetary gains are something to be proud of. There's a difference between an entrepreneur and a speculator. One of them actually contributes something to society, and the other is just a parasite that games the system for their own advantage. The thing that fuels enthusiasts' entitlement the most is elitism. Like, being a fan of something more than someone else makes you more worthy of being listened to. Basically the Starbelly Sneetz mentality.
From the heights of Mooba Mooba to the gullies of Gazoo, there is nobody else who has won. We're the favorite few who do. And so a toast, raise your marshmallow stick. A toast, raise your good fellow stick. And toast the glorious gimmicky that makes us what we are. Sound off and let the welcome ring in praise of our exclusive fame. A toast, raise your marshmallow stick. A toast, raise your good fellow stick. A toast, you rally star.
But the thing about this mentality and enthusiast tiers of fandoms is that, well, it's sort of delusional. Most of the money in a franchise comes from the lower tiers, particularly the casuals. I was watching an El Toro Ryan video. For those who don't know who he is, he's a roller coaster tuber who really loves block zones. And in a video he was doing on the roller coaster Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion, which I think is called something else now, he had to call out this mentality from the coaster community. To paraphrase, he said that it was the casuals that made parks like King's Dominion money, and that fast, tall, intense coasters like I-305 wouldn't be profitable if it was fitted into every park. Basically calling out the mentality of entitled enthusiasts within his own community. And that makes sense. I know people myself who think anything taller than 50 feet and made of something other than wood is too scary for them. But the appeal of amusement parks is something that caters to all groups, not just coaster enthusiasts. Even coaster capital parks like Magic Mountain and Cedar Point still have flat rides. Now, this isn't to say that casuals can be excused from their own entitlement, not at all. In fact, that video is coming next week. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of extremely hardcore fans have delusions of grandeur and entitlement issues that are mentally unhealthy. It helps to have perspective when it comes to getting entrenched in fandoms, as a lot of this mentality is pushed by echo chamber thinking. Like, sure, it'd be nice if Star Trek First Contact was totally rewritten to be about Captain Sisko and Picard and their clashing ideologies in the face of a Borg invasion of Federation space, but that isn't the movie we got. Nor should that be a flaw upon the movie itself, which is probably the second or maybe third best overall Trek movie after Undiscovered Country and Wrath of Khan. And sure, KMDP's idea of trying to pretend that the meta era of Sonic the Hedgehog doesn't exist does sound nice, but the current direction that Sonic Team is going, with the lore advice of Ian Flynn, is looking far more to salvage what's there rather than throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Enthusiasts are only one part of a fandom, a small part at that. Sure, a lot of them do have creative and fun things like fan games, fan art, and so on. You can't knock talent when it's there, but at the end of the day, they're still just fans. Same as the regular fans or the casual fans. They're all part of the same audience. Just because a guy is really into a movie series doesn't mean he's more entitled to your seat at the theater. At the end of the day, your money and his money are worth exactly the same. While there's nothing wrong with being enthusiastic about something, one should always do so responsibly and, more importantly, with humility. It pays nice to have a bit of perspective and to remember that creators are not obligated to change their vision to suit you. To say otherwise is just selfishness, and it reflects far more on you than it does on them. This doesn't mean that enthusiasts are always wrong. They are the fans with the best grip on the fandom's pulse, but without perspective, they can also be a fandom or franchise's worst enemy. There's a time and a place for enthusiasts to speak. It's just not all the time in every place, and it always helps to also allow fresher perspectives to avoid echo chambers and tunnel vision. Hence why fandoms should remain balanced to allow all fans the same right to an opinion and not just cater to one side or another. And speaking of the other, tune in next week for part 2 when we talk about casual entitlement. Until then, this has been the Koopa Man. If you like this video, leave a like and subscribe as it helps me get noticed by YouTube. If you have other examples of enthusiast entitlement, talk about it in the comments as I'd love to hear more. Be sure to watch my other videos and stay tuned for next week because we're going to give the casuals their what for. Until then, game on.